Hi, this is Nick Dawson, the editor-in-chief of Talkhouse Film, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Film podcast. Technology moves fast these days, so fast that in a couple of years what's basically a sci-fi project can become just a slightly heightened version of reality. As Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman explain on today's episode, that's exactly what happened with their latest movie Nerve, a high-octane thriller starring Dave Franco and Emma Roberts, about an app that gives players increasingly dangerous dares that they then live stream to the world. Think Pokemon Go for President Trump's America. Joost and Schulman have had, for my money, one of the most interesting career trajectories of any filmmaker or filmmaking team in the past decade. They burst onto the scene in 2010 with their doc sensation Catfish, the highly entertaining and brilliantly told story of how Schulman's brother Neve fell in love online with someone who, it transpired, wasn't who she said she was. The film's detractors called into question its veracity, so it was a fitting irony that Joost and Schulman's next projects were the third and fourth installments in the definitely fictional Paranormal Activity franchise, both of which were the #1 movie in America on their opening weekend. For this episode, Joost and Schulman sat down at Samsung 837 in New York City's meatpacking district with Stuart-Pontier, not just one of the best young editors around, but someone who came up with the pair. Stuart-Pontier was the editor on Catfish, and has since gone on to work on Martha, Marcy May, Marlene, and Simon Killer, and really made his mark with The Jinx, the game-changing doc-series on HBO, on which he was a writer and producer as well as editor. Listening to these three old friends talk, we learn all about the genesis of Catfish, their favorite New York films, their movie tattoo tradition, the crazy dare Lionsgate thought they'd done for real, their upcoming projects, including a surprising left turn from Stuart-Pontier, and their colorful memories of the meatpacking district from back in the day.
Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah,
good
to be here with you guys.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I haven't seen you guys since I saw Nerve.
Saw you briefly at the premiere.
Yeah, very briefly. I loved it.
Good.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Good. Your taste means everything to me.
It's
It
a
really
roller
does.
coaster ride. It really is. Super fun.
Nice, man. That was the
Yeah.
idea. Streamlined summer entertainment with a message.
He was just mentioning the timing. And when you guys saw Pokemon Go, were you psyched or what were you thinking?
Super psyched.
Super psyched.
We were like, the 2 years ago when we started like working with the writer on this, and it started as a novel. It seemed a little far-fetched. It like seemed almost sci-fi. And like as we've been writing it, shooting it, editing it, it's become more and more plausible. Like Periscope came out while we were editing.
That blew my mind even more than Pokemon Go for some reason.
That was like, yeah, just something about it. Like that technology, which seems really simple now, which is just HD streaming, like anyone can do it, anyone can watch,
Right.
people comment on it and stuff. Like that was groundbreaking. Now it's like no big deal.
Right.
Pokemon Go is like, makes the movie so much more possible.
Yeah. My favorite. It's also made it a lot easier to describe
Right.
because everyone's always like, hey, you got a movie coming out. Cool. What's it about? And you're looking for that 1 or 2 sentences. And the simplest way I've heard is Pokemon Go meets the game. But then you need to explain that the game, you have to say, David Fincher's the game.
Right.
And then you'd be like,
Because the Pokemon Go is a game.
right.
Yeah, David Fincher's the game. Have you seen it? And they're like,
Right.
no. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
it's about.
Because it's not that simple.
So Michael Douglas plays this guy.
Before 7.
Yeah.
After 7?
Mm.
After 7.
After 7?
After 7 before Fight Club?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
about right.
God, what a good career.
Oh, so good.
So good.
I'd trade with him.
Trade what?
Careers.
With Fincher?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not friends.
Huh.
Love you guys.
Thanks, bro.
Oh.
Were there dares that you weren't allowed to put in the film?
We were, there's a dare in which one of the characters lies on train tracks and lets a train go over their head. And that was really on the fence about, like, is this okay to put this in a movie?
Yeah.
God forbid someone does it.
I mean, the truth is people are already doing that on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, there's all those.
You seen that? Lying down on
I
tracks?
haven't seen that one, but I've seen like Adventure, the crazy people that hang. And,
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy people. But, we were like, it's important that this game is pushed to its extreme, but also that you see the consequences. And, like, it's not like anyone saying in the movie that that's a good idea, that that's something you should try.
Right.
At the end of the film, I think
It's clear.
it's very clear
it's
that
totally clear.
Clear that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Clear that
Okay,
you
good,
shouldn't
good.
do it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take that responsibility seriously. If you're making a PG-13 movie that's widely distributed, Lionsgate was cool, and they wanted us to push it and be dark and edgy, but we all agreed we should set a good example here.
But I actually realized recently, talking to Eric Feig, who runs Lionsgate, the reason why they almost pulled the plug on that scene, it was like the day we were shooting it. They were
the
like,
train
guys,
scene?
we're really uncomfortable with this scene, was because they thought we were actually letting the actor lie on the tracks while the train rolled over his head.
Even after he saw the scene, he thought we really did it.
Machine Gun Kelly,
Yeah.
Colson,
Very good in the film.
very good in the film.
Shout out.
Shout out. He's the actor
Yeah.
I'm speaking of. And the Lionsgate thought we were really putting him under a train. And they were like, guys, that is really irresponsible. And they even saw in the cut, in reality, it's like it's a visual effect trick. Like we had Colson lie on the tracks. We took him out. Then we had the train roll over. And then we put the two frames together.
Simplest composite in the movie.
One of the simplest effects, ever. It's like basically a split screen.
It's scary.
But
Very
it's so
effective.
effective.
Yeah.
And Lionsgate saw it, and they were like, you guys are nuts for really doing this with our actor.
Right, but thank you.
But thanks.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
So he just realized the other day. He was like, oh, I didn't realize that was fake.
Wow. Crazy.
Crazy.
Chrissy.
I was thinking about, I love that it's shot on the streets of New York. Favorite movie shot on the streets of New York? Sorry, guys. Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, that's a good
It's
one.
so
I love that.
good.
It's
Yeah.
so good. That was in our pitch reel
Was
to get
it?
the
Yeah.
nerve job.
Amazing.
You remember when they go through the park? You're
Yeah.
talking about Bruce
never
Willis and Sam
forget.
Jackson.
Yeah.
In the taxi.
In the taxi, they're going through Central Park, and they burst over the
Oh, so
median
good.
Yeah.
into Central Park West.
Yeah.
That was like in our reel.
And
Also,
they're going all the way to Tompkins, right? That's where they find the bomb.
Yeah,
It's
in
amazing.
Tompkins Park, right.
That's a fantastic reference. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's so good.
I got a couple faves.
What else?
Well, After Hours.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated Scorsese picture. The Cruise.
Oh, yeah. Cruise.
Underrated documentary
Speed
feature.
Levitch?
Timothy Speed Levitch.
That's
yeah.
right.
Another
If
good
you're
shout
listening and you haven't seen that, please
out. Right
Check
now.
it out. Do yourself a favor.
do yourself a
Cruise.
favor.
Bennett Miller, first
First film. Yeah.
First film.
Black and white.
Which is why I always recommend to young filmmakers start with a doc.
It's very good
Yeah,
advice.
and I cite him as a really good example.
Side note, the editor came to speak when I was at NYU.
Mm-hmm.
Totally changed my life.
Editor of The Cruise.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said
she?
that it was a he.
Okay.
Just he said that that Bennett Miller shot that once. They tried to make it and it didn't work at all.
Huh.
And Bennett Miller went out and shot it again.
No. Wow.
Yeah, and he said it wouldn't have happened because by the time they actually shot the movie, they knew each other, and so in the first time they went to shoot it, they weren't jiving.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't jiving at all, and so much of that is him being comfortable
Right.
and just riffing. And to capture that, they had to get to know each other. And so he was talking about how, even though it seemed like it was a waste to go through that whole thing, it was everything.
Right.
Yeah. Hey,
And that
process,
was
all
process,
preparation.
process. I mean,
Cool.
My mind was blown.
I think the three of us sitting down here really understand a lengthy filmmaking process,
Yeah.
and to not scoff at it,
Oh, yeah.
because I don't know where you end up. If you end up where you are, it's because of how long it's taken or something like that, right? Editing the doc Catfish, you remember our first cut, which was
12 hours.
many hours long.
Yeah.
Had talking heads, had a reverse structure, had shifting timelines.
So let's back up on. Let's talk about
Okay.
Catfish. For
Let's
a
talk
while.
Sure.
about it.
For people who haven't seen it, what's Catfish?
It's like Pokemon Go meets.
God, the Facebook. I just watched it recently. The Facebook looks like a different.
Yeah.
Does it?
Totally different.
I kind of want to watch. I haven't watched it since, the premiere. I
Really?
don't think.
So
No.
You've seen it in like 5
I
years.
haven't seen it in a long time.
I watch it with every new girlfriend.
Got to.
Check this out.
What is Catfish? Catfish is, at this point, maybe you've heard of the show Catfish. This was the doc that kicked it off. Maybe you've heard of the word catfish. This was the doc that kicked it off. It's about my brother, this is Rael talking, Neve, who fell in love online. It was MySpace at the time. And the three of us were basically just watching him go down this rabbit hole that involved an entire family of people in Upper Michigan. And they got really deep. It got really involved. And eventually he's madly in love with the oldest daughter of the family, Megan, and they never meet. And we all thought that was pretty weird, and we were filming sporadically for months and months and months. And eventually it got so strange that we decided to just show up and meet her. And at that point, we didn't stop rolling for like another week. And Megan turned out to be someone else entirely. And she was the proto-catfish.
That's right. And the first person we called on the way back from Michigan was Zach.
That's right. I remember
I remember that phone call in the car.
I was driving, you were shotgun.
Yep. I called him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was like a 45-minute to an hour phone call where I just described what we had just filmed.
Yeah.
And I was like, Zach, drop everything. You're about to edit this movie.
Yeah, what are you doing for the next year?
Yeah.
And
Boy.
2 years.
And it took a year and a half.
More, I think. Yeah, 2.
And we were, that's, I think, what's funny about like shutting down Park Avenue and stuff like that we're doing now is that movie was just the 3 of us for the longest time.
Very long time.
And like, I was just thinking this morning about how we took the editing computer out to Shelter Island to my dad's house.
Well, because Neve, you remember how it was hard because he had gone on this whole journey, and then we immediately were like, we're gonna make a movie.
Yeah,
and like
we
it was
were
all
excited.
exciting,
Yeah.
and he was kind of like,
he was like, I don't want to hear my voice in the
Yeah.
background, like as you guys
So
are
we had to
editing
get out of the
this
office.
footage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why we left the office.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Kind
Shelter
of.
Island is nice,
And
but
it's nice. And they have basketball courts.
That was a good time.
That was a good time.
I gotta
It
say,
was.
we found a good editing schedule too, which was started pretty early. We all had coffee together
Yeah.
or something. We'd cut till like sundown, shoot hoops.
yeah, we go play
And shoot
basketball
hoops
every
every
day.
day.
Yeah, at sunset, and then cook each other dinner.
Yeah. And remember how
And then we'd
fast-
edit after
We'd
dinner.
just smoke weed and watch a movie.
We'd talk about it like at dinner. Talk
Yeah.
about like philosophy and like what strategy
Yeah,
was
yeah,
for the day.
Yeah.
It was an amazing process. You don't get that luxury
No.
anymore.
Yeah. Well, the higher the stakes. That's because we paid for the movie and no one was expecting it.
Yeah. No one was waiting for it. No one had any money invested.
But I got to say, deadlines are not a bad thing. I think we've all started making projects with looming deadlines and higher stakes, and they got to pry it out of your hands. And otherwise, you just keep tweaking it. What eventually forced us to finish that movie? Sundance.
Sundance deadline, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We had like a crazy idea of like shooting for that first Sundance deadline. That was
Way off.
stupid.
Yeah. And then by the next year.
But it took us an entire year.
And even right at the end, I remember. You remember we had that screening with the Safdies came to, and we had voiceover even, or
Yeah.
we had
We had
title
talking heads.
We had talking heads and voiceover.
Yeah.
In the film, and if you see the film, it's none of that. It just unfolds real time.
That was a pivotal.
That was huge.
screening,
And they were like,
yeah.
"You don't need that stuff," and we were like, "Oh, but we do." And and then the next day, we cut it all out.
That was huge. Josh and Ben Safdie, side note, 2 great filmmakers and brothers whose new movie is going to be really cool. Robert Pattinson movie called Good Time.
Sounds amazing.
We all came up making movies together. We showed them an early cut of Catfish, and they just sort of threw half of it out right in front of our faces.
Yeah.
Which is why people say, like, how long do you need in post? Yeah, like 3 months to cut. How do you know?
Yeah.
Like, so much, maybe that's our problem. We've all been stuck in like a doc-minded post-editing world where you can change and reshape. Even The Jinx was initially a feature documentary.
Yeah.
And you guys cut for so long and kept exploring, and it kept growing, that you were open-minded enough to say, maybe this is a 6-part miniseries.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to let it evolve.
It sort of tells you what it wants to be, right?
Right.
You
But
know,
you need
if you
time.
listen to it.
What was that first cut? First cut I watched of The Jinx was like a 3.5 hour,
3.5 hour
like
cut, yeah.
feature
length,
cut
yeah.
when it was a movie,
Which was really weird. It had a very strange, like, tone shifts problems, and
Yeah.
it was just very long. And
How did you decide to make it a series?
we knew it was the best story ever. We knew we had this. We knew we had a bit of an amazing ending. We didn't know just how amazing it would be, and it wasn't working. And it was like, what are we doing wrong? I don't
Right.
understand why this isn't working. And it was hard. It was like super. It just was impossible to figure out. And we were at the same time. It was like Homeland was out, House of Cards was out, all these great series that just push the information
Yeah.
back and unfold. And eventually, we were just like, what if we tried it? And we did, and it was like, clearly that's what it's supposed to be.
You know what's funny is I remember having that thought process when we were cutting Catfish, And the first cut was 12 hours long. Remember that?
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like pretty good.
Yeah.
And like my dad sat down and watched the whole thing like over 2 days. And we had that idea. We were like, should this be a series? But like series it wasn't the same thing back
wasn't
then.
a
Like
thing.
Yeah.
that wasn't a
It wasn't a sexy
there
word.
there was no like easy outlet for a series. Like it wasn't like you could, put it on HBO or Netflix or Amazon or whatever. Like
Yeah, the streaming thing hadn't really happened yet.
No.
and the binging thing.
Yeah, the
and like,
binging thing.
No, now you have an idea and you got to ask yourself, what is it? Is it a movie? Is it a series? Or is it a podcast? Or, or is it just a punchline?
right.
But series, that was like an STD. Like, geez, I got to call someone and figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah, nobody watched The Staircase. It's an amazing documentary. If
Amazing
you haven't seen The
documentary.
Staircase,
Oh my God,
watch
if that
The
came out right
Staircase.
now, Emmys.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. It would be huge.
Yeah, add that
should
to your,
re-release.
to your list there at home.
Yeah,
The Staircase.
The
Staircase.
Staircase and The Cruise
yeah.
documentaries. And The Jinx, if you haven't seen it yet, but you've probably seen it.
All of Zach Stuart-Pontier's work.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It's true. And Zach
Shout out
is,
to Mark Smerling and Andrew Jarecki.
That's right. Producers.
Partners in Crime.
So those guys who are the team behind Capturing the Freedmans,
Yeah.
another great documentary you should add to your list
Absolutely.
if you haven't seen it already. They joined the Catfish team after we'd been editing for a year.
About a year.
Yeah. And then Zach later went on to make The Jinx with them. So it's all a really tight family.
But you remember that was like our Bible, Capturing the
Yeah.
Freedmans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would watch that. The way that movie starts and unfolds is genius.
Totally.
It's so clear
It's
and
masterful.
clever and like they're turning over these cards of information and you're just getting sucked in.
Yeah.
And we would watch and be like, why can't we do something like that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I
that
think what Andrew and Mark are masters of is like the parceling out of information just as slow as possible. Like just when you want to know something, they let you know, but they don't let you know more than you need to know at that moment.
Yeah.
It's not like a flood of information. It's just little crumbs.
Mark always says, push the information back.
Yeah.
It's good advice. Tattoos. You guys getting tattoos?
I got one.
For Nerve?
Yeah.
Let's see it. Whoa.
It's a little eyeball.
It's awesome.
Here,
Yeah.
check out my. Oh man, it's starting to come off a little bit.
Uh-oh.
You gotta redo
You got to
it.
get another one on your face.
So
we
they're asking us to put it in front of the camera.
I know it's a weird spot, but I got it out of
Let me see
solidarity with Emma Roberts, who also got it on
it's
her
coming
heel.
off. Yeah.
I'll get another one.
Okay, you get another one. So we have a tradition of getting a little tattoo for
Let's see
every
those
movie.
catfish tattoos.
Oh.
The three of us
yeah.
have a matching catfish tattoo.
Matching little mouse clicker.
And Neve has
Yep.
this.
That's right. Zach, you got that little robot there.
I did.
That's cute.
In honor of Nick Cadner.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you have another tattoo, right?
Just in general?
No, for another movie though. You did
I have
paranormal.
Paranormal.
Little ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viral.
Viral.
Yeah.
When's
So I gotta get
Viral
one of
coming
those.
out?
Like right now.
Viral's actually coming out on VOD this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
What's Viral about for people that don't know?
It's about the epidemic of a strange new virus, or parasite really, that takes over southwest of America. And the movie focuses on two sisters stuck at home during a quarantine. And should they stay inside or go outside and try to find their dad? Michael Kelly, shout out.
Sick.
He's awesome.
You know Michael Kelly?
I mean, not personally. I know House of Cards.
You
though.
watch House of Cards.
Yeah.
You guys would like each other.
He's the
awesome.
best.
That's how we met Machine Gun Kelly. He's in that movie too.
That's
Oh,
right.
wow.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Talk about using technology as storytelling device. 'Cause
Technology.
I think that's something that you guys do
Technology.
very, very well.
Thanks.
And
Well,
can
you
see
had a big
over-
part of that.
Well, thank you.
We
You can see it over all your films, I think.
Well, the first one was Catfish. We figured out like so much of that story takes place on the computer. It was not so much on the phone, but it was like Facebook, MySpace, email.
There were no apps during the story.
There weren't
of
really
Catfish.
apps. There was like Google Maps.
The
right?
iPhone had just come out, so we wanted to
Well,
use
yeah.
the technology.
So we
to tell
had
the
like
story.
yeah, we had this. We were trying to tell this story where at least half of it in the beginning takes place on screens, and we were like, how do you shoot that? How do you capture that? How do you make that compelling? We know it's compelling like in real life because we all show each other our phones and we're like, look what this guy just said to me, or like, look what this person posted on whatever. So like the solution we came up with at the time, I don't remember. We did experiment with like some crazy stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
We ended up with like the most simple, just dead on. We shot it with a diopter, which allows you to get really, really close to the screen. We embraced the pixels.
Yeah.
We just shot like close-ups of the screen, which it sounds kind of dumb and simple, but like it was semi-revolutionary. And I think oft imitated.
Yeah. And then also we used the Google Maps
The Google
as
Maps,
a map. We
yeah.
tried to like embrace the computer.
which
the
Everybody
computer.
does now,
Yeah,
even the
yeah.
news.
It's true.
Yeah.
Google Earth. That was the big thing we figured
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Using zooming down from planet Earth into a small town.
Right.
That's right. We wanted to do that like Indiana Jones, like airplane over
Yeah.
the map
Yeah.
with the cool line.
We even
think-
tried
We did.
that.
We basically did that.
And we did that with Google. We were like, let's use the computer, anything that's like available online as our storytelling tool. That was our big revelation.
Favorite cut maybe in the movie is when it goes from out the window to the Google Maps.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Oh my God. Remember when we saw Abby on the lawn
Yeah.
in Google Earth?
Street view.
Street View.
That
Street
was
View.
crazy.
That was crazy.
Oh my God, I haven't thought about that in years.
And we use it in the film. It pushes in on it, right?
It's wild.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, so that's
wild.
before we. Tell me if I'm remembering this correctly. Before we ever got to Angela's house in Upper Michigan, we checked out the address on Google Earth, or at least that's where it
Street view.
happens in
Street
the movie.
View.
On Street View. Find her house. It's the same house we'd seen in pictures she'd sent us or something. And there in Street View is her daughter, Abby. Because we'd been wondering if she was real.
It's true.
And there she was, as I don't know if that's proof, but
But it's bizarre because you can't really see,
Can't
her,
see her
face.
face. It's a little
They're
spooky.
ghostly and like
Yeah.
that was
It's
that was
like you
creepy.
couldn't have. Oh, let's talk about that for a second. How everyone thought it was fake.
They still do.
Do they?
still
Yeah.
do.
They still do.
Yeah, my mom just sent me a link in that where it says like, Catfish, the pseudo documentary.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you why they still think that, but I understand at the time it was like people had no idea how catfishing didn't even have a name. It wasn't like people understood how prevalent that phenomenon was.
Yeah.
Now we're like 6 seasons into a TV show where it happens every week, and people
Yeah.
are like, okay, I guess that's a thing that happens.
Also, shooting your friends like every day on little cameras wasn't a thing either.
Right.
Right.
Cut to
Now.
Now we're much more used to things being captured.
Right.
People would be surprised if you didn't capture something.
Right.
They'd be like, how the hell did that happen and no one filmed it?
Right. Right.
That's a big change in 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Technology's moving quick.
Technology.
That's a massive cultural shift in perspective. Mm-hmm. There are a lot more eyes on the ground right now.
That's right.
And the sky.
And sky.
And the sky.
And sky.
Yeah.
Drones.
Drones.
Hashtag drones.
The criminals that I talk to are all lamented all the time. Like, you can't do anything these days. There's cameras everywhere. You gotta do these 2
The
seconds.
criminals I talk to.
Oh, man.
So Zach is working on a podcast. Can I talk about that?
You can talk about it. Yeah. No name. No name.
No
yet.
name
Yeah.
yet.
'Cause you
but
don't know what
let
it's
me
called
just
yet?
Yeah, we
say
don't know
that-
what it's called
I'll
yet.
just say that I heard some of it, and I think it's going to change the game.
Oh.
Agreed.
I think it's going to be a revolutionary podcast.
It's about crime and corruption in Providence, Rhode Island. So we're doing a whole season with Gimlet Media, awesome company, started by Alex Bloomberg, Matt Lieber,
Shout out.
alums
Shout
of
out.
This American Life and NPR, and a lot of good stuff. And me and Mark Smerling
Mark
are
Smerling,
working on
producer
it
of
together.
Catfish, Capturing the Freedmans, The Chinks.
Awesome guy, one of the best storytellers out there.
Terrific cyclist as well.
Absolutely, all true things.
Mhm. Strong legs, beautiful beard.
Hairless legs. Discuss.
Anyway, it
kidding.
comes out in November.
No, but it's awesome. It's like one of those things where I think you're going to change the medium.
Would you say it's like Sopranos, the podcast?
Maybe The Wire, if I could be so
Yeah,
bold.
it is.
Only
No,
because
you're
it's
right.
not so focused on one character. It's
Right.
it's the story of a city. So I mean, we're trying to. I love that show clearly, and it's a masterpiece. So we're trying to maybe do something like that in an audio.
Trying to be a masterpiece. Is that what you just said?
Could have been. Could have been what I just said.
Hey, shoot for it.
Shoot for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're on
So
your
far,
way.
so good, Zach.
No, it's so cool. I
Yeah.
can't wait for it to come out. When does it come out?
November,
November.
right around Thanksgiving.
How
So
many
you're-
episodes?
15 to 20.
Holy
Dang.
Yeah, I
So
think
you're pretty
President
comfortable
President
in this
Trump's gonna love
podcast
it.
medium now, huh?
I'm learning, man. I'll tell you, losing visuals is a blessing and a curse. It's super challenging to put together a story that is not visual.
Bet you're learning a lot, though.
Oh man, so much.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think you will be a better movie editor after having told a radio story for 2 years of work?
I think it all helps, right? I mean, you bring all your experiences to something, and I'm definitely learning a different way to tell a story, that's what I love too, and I think you guys must love that too. I mean, all the work that we do, it's trying to keep it interesting, right? It's always different.
Yeah.
And that's
We're into learning.
Bring something new to every challenge. Like you were saying, you hadn't done an action sequence, and you brought all this stuff.
Yeah,
to
and
that.
I always admired them and always loved them and wanted to do one.
Mm-hmm. I think we can do even
was
better.
That was a thrill. Yeah, I think we'll do better next time.
What's next?
That's a good question.
It could be one of a few things. I don't know, we're still looking for
Nice.
the right project.
You know, as you know, we adapted a novel, The Monkey Wrench Gang. We have a script. We're trying to get it made. It's a 1975 cult classic novel about 4 misfits in the desert in the Southwest who are trying to take the power back from coal companies and energy companies and stuff like that. So it's a little controversial, but it's a comedy, a zany comedy.
Oh. How can you take like the environmental conversation out of the doldrums of like anger, frustration, and boredom, and make that part of the mainstream entertainment funnel? You know,
I think it's possible.
mm-hmm. You think it's possible?
I mean, I think that's the way you get to say something about, because else you get mired in the politics of it. I mean, when you actually can say something, like the way Nerve says something about technology.
Technology,
you know.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're into. Is you know, saying something through the vehicle of an entertaining story. That's if I were to try to explain it. And that's the same thing as the Monkey Wrench Gang is. It's a fun action comedy, but underneath that is an environmental message and like a conversation we should all be having about what the hell is going on in our country,
in our fucking world.
It is a very interesting time to be telling stories.
It is, and I feel a lot of responsibility to tell stories that have to do with the context of our world and situation. And it would feel, I would feel kind of, I don't think I'd sleep at night making just meaningless entertainment. Not that it doesn't have a place and escapism is important, but there is so much to discuss right now that I think we're all grappling with. It feels like a very confused time. So I think the little part we can do with Nerve is help people explore the pressures of social media and some insecurity that we're all dealing with in this age of consent, where we're just handing over personal information willy-nilly. Screw the Patriot Act. You don't even have to ask for it anymore. I'll just give it to you.
Yeah.
What's that about? Why are we doing things that are out of our comfort zone for followers, for likes, for credibility? I don't even know. So it's an exploration. And that feels better than, say, Paranormal 4, which is maybe a fun ride, but it doesn't leave you with much to talk about.
Speak for yourself. I love talking
Ghosts
about
are a real
ghosts.
problem.
How's this podcast going? Do you think we need some visuals?
I think we got that we're on that massive that massive screen over there.
Oh, yeah.
We are in this amazing Samsung headquarters in the Meatpacking District on the west side of Manhattan. Special neighborhood. It has a place in my heart, having grown up around here, born and raised. It's changed a lot, and this is a really beautiful place. I feel like we're in a high-tech mecca.
Yeah. Yeah, we're about to experiment with some VR, I think, after this.
There's a VR roller coaster behind us. You know what I don't know if you guys want to talk about it now, if there's time, but a real conversation I would like to have is, should we be pursuing VR storytelling or not? I know. The three of us and Mark Smerling, a couple months ago, all sat down and said, should we do a serialized VR show? And it felt like the right idea. The seed of that really attracted all of us.
Yeah.
Then we started getting into the nitty-gritty of it, and I think we all kind of lost a handle.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure I really get it enough to make a serialized
I think the
show.
answer's definitely yes. It's
Yes.
just you guys are busy with the podcast. We were finishing editing this movie.
Right.
You know.
Maybe we should talk about it again.
Maybe
We should talk about
maybe
it.
in
It's because it's going to
October.
happen, right?
Yeah.
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 And who
Really
better?
fun.
who better?
Who better?
Right, but then a lot of people say let other people experiment with the medium and fail, and then swoop in once you've learned their lessons. And
We
nail
never.
it.
That's never what we did, really.
What do you mean? They started making movies 100 years before
That's
we got
true.
into
Well,
it.
in that sense.
We didn't get into it until you could get a camera for $300 at Best Buy.
That's right.
What would D.W. Griffith say?
What would Méliès say?
Méliès.
Méliès.
Say, mais non.
Bonjour.
I would like to also say that the very first topless tranny I ever saw was on this street behind where I'm sitting right now.
How many have you seen since then?
Shout out.
You just made somebody really excited. They were like, "That was me."
Oh, wow, that'd be amazing if
Wouldn't
that
be
person
amazing?
was
If
listening.
that's you gotta tweet it,
I know.
Ralph. If that was,
Would
if
she
that's
know?
possible,
How
that
would
it
you
could
know?
possibly
All
be
right,
you.
I'm thinking like late 90s. Okay. Black man turned woman implants.
Okay.
Topless.
Wow.
Okay.
Washington Street, meatpacking district.
That's where we are right now.
And Gansevoort, more or less. I think I had just come from Florent, which
Yeah.
was RIP, best 24-hour restaurant in New York City. And she was heading south on Washington Street in a mini skirt.
God, I hope this is the first scene of a movie where we track this person down.
That would be there. There's
Did you have an interaction?
just a head nod.
I was chased once in this neighborhood by some prostitutes.
Interesting.
This neighborhood
you didn't
used
pay
to
'em?
be really different.
It did. It wasn't
Yeah.
that long ago.
10,
Anyway, if
10 15
if
years
you're
ago.
either of those people that may have chased Henry or flashed Rel, please get in touch.
This is Nick Dawson from Talkhouse Film, and you've been listening to Zach Stuart-Pontier in conversation with Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman on the Talkhouse Film podcast. This episode was engineered and edited by Talkhouse podcast producer Elia Einhorn. Thanks to Giant Step for coordination. For more filmmakers talking film and TV, visit thetalkhouse.com/film. Subscribe to Talkhouse Film and Talkhouse Music podcasts on iTunes and Stitcher, where you can find all our previous episodes. And while you're there, please rate and review if you can.